So you're looking for a letting agent. Who to choose? There's so many out there. Which ones do you go to? Which ones do you talk to? And how do you select the right one? Well, here's a few tips on how to find the right letting agent. My name's Sally Lawson. I've been in lettings for over 20 years now. We've managed over 5,000 properties. I help to advise other letting agents on how to improve their services and help to advise landlords as well on how to deal with their agents. And there's a few key things that as a landlord you can really look for to make sure that the letting agent you're about to use is the right one. First of all, have you looked to see if they're actually qualified to do what they need to do? Do they have any ALA qualifications? Have they got ALA backing? What's their team made up of? If you've got a bunch of kids that really seem to have no training between them, they're probably not the right agent for you. You want to make sure they've got the backing of some sort of credentials and credibility, be it ALA, NAAA, RICS, anything like that, to make sure that they've actually got that credibility behind them. Talk to them. Do they know more than you? If they don't know more than you should move on, because you're going to a professional. It's like going to a doctor and telling him what's wrong with you. You need to go to somebody who's actually got more experience than you, because generally when things are going well, you don't need a letting agent. You need a letting agent when things go wrong. So when tenants stop paying, when they need to be evicted, when things are going bad, that's when you need a letting agent to step up to the plate and to deal with matters for you, and it's really, really important. Find out what their arrears rate is. I mean, our arrears rate, for example, is less than 2%, and you need to ask them, what's your arrears rate? What percentage of your properties are on arrears? How many times do you go to court? Another thing is to ask them how many properties they have in relation to how many staff. What is their staff to property ratio? The typical average in the industry is about 75 properties per member of staff. So if they're claiming to be managing 1,000 properties and there's 2 staff in the office, you know they're not going to be dealing with all the things they need to be dealing with. So what is their staff to property ratio? Really important question to ask. I think one of the most important questions out of all of them is your client account bonded and protected? And what that means is, in the event of them going bust, running off with your money, disappearing, going on holiday and never coming back, you are actually insured against any losses. So in the event of them going bust or disappearing with your money, the insurance company would pay you back your money. Now you'll typically find all ALA agents have got client money protection bonding, but also you can use a scheme called client money protection CMP. So if they've got CMP cover or their ALA or anything like that, they will be covered. So what you need to be asking for is a copy of the certificate. If you've got a copy of the certificate saying their client account is bonded, then you know that your money is protected. There's so many stories at the moment hitting the press about letting agents closing down and running away with £500,000, a couple of £100,000, and they get very, very small penalties for it. So it's really quite a tough one, that one. But if you make sure you've got that insurance policy in place, then at least you know that you're covered in the event of anything like that happening. One other thing I think is really, really important is the files. And the reason being is that as a landlord, you're responsible for whatever is in those files. So, for example, if you hire an agency and they don't bother getting the gas certificate done, then you're liable. So therefore, if you've got a gas certificate that is, say, out of expired and there's a gas explosion and somebody suffers a huge loss or injury, then you could be penalised for it. And the penalties are 6 months in jail or £5,000 fine or both. So you need to know what's in your files. If you're using a letting agent, you've got any concerns whatsoever, I would certainly go in and say, can I have a look at my files? You want to see an organised, structured file with everything in there, so that you know that everything is as it should be and that you're safe and you're protected. That'd be tenancy agreements signed, inventory agreements signed. Quite often they don't get them signed. Make sure you've got gas certificates in place, electrical certificates in place, a copy of the registration certificate for the deposit, etc. You need to make sure that stuff's in your file. But how do you know they can market your property? Well, a couple of simple checks you can do here. Go on to Rightmove and have a look at all the properties they've actually got onto their system. If you're seeing lots of photographs, lots of descriptions, it looks really professional, really smart, then they're probably quite good at marketing. However, if you go on, there's hardly any photographs, the descriptions are really short, then start thinking, maybe I should go somewhere else, because I'm not very good at marketing. And again, ask to be a tenant. Give them a phone call, pretend to be a tenant, and say, you know, I'm looking for a property. See what they say. If they just say, no, we haven't got anything, and put the phone down, you need to be moving on. They should be taking your details down, registering on the system, so that when something comes in, they can send the details to you, and see if they do follow you up. So 2 quick tests, see if they're any good at marketing and see whether they're any good at the tenant selection as well. So there we are, a few top tips on how to find a good letting agent. But one really thing I find very, very important, is to see whether the landlord actually understands you. And if you're an avid investor, you're a property investor, you need to make sure that they are an investor too, because if they're an investor, they really will understand where you're coming from, and they will make sure that your best intentions are covered at all times. So if you want to talk to me or any of my team, we're Concentric Lettings. We're covered nationwide, so we can let and manage any property in the UK. And if we can help you, we'd love to talk to you. It's concentriclettings.co.uk. Thank you.